Welcome to Las Vegas. The Mirage Hotel's the new kid on the block, and it's the spectacular stage for the last super fight of the 80s. Leonard Duran 3. Good evening to you. A volcano in the front garden is one of the extras here at the Mirage. It goes off every 15 minutes or so at night and illuminates the strip, even by the city's bizarre standards. It really is quite extraordinary. This hotel took a couple of years to build. It cost over £400 million, and Leonard and Duran are the star opening attractions. Inside, white tigers frolic in the foyer. Their home's a massive glass cage just down the hill from the slot machines, and they look as though they're having a ball. Well, Leonard and Duran have been sharpening their claws for this third meeting for over 9 years now. First time out, Duran won decisively on points in Montreal. That's still Leonard's only defeat. Then in New Orleans, Sugar Ray Leonard taunted and tormented the paper tiger, Duran. Totally out of character, Duran surrendered, muttering, "No mas, no more."
What's Duran doing around here? He's saying, "I don't understand what's going on here." He's put Duran. I don't believe this. I don't believe this in the 8th round. What's going on? Now Duran wants to fight one in a second. He's out of his mind.
Well, now it is going to be Uno Mas. Since that last meeting, Leonard's retired a couple of times. He had a very debatable victory over Marvin Hagler and a controversial draw here against Thomas Hearns in his last fight. And it's Leonard's super middleweight title that's at stake here tonight. All week, though, here in Las Vegas, Sugar Ray Leonard has been suggesting this is going to be his last fight. As for Roberto Duran, his comeback at the age of 38 is quite astonishing. He looked totally washed up when he lost to Britain's Kurt Lang, but the old warrior has got himself back in shape. Earlier this year, he beat Iran Barkley, staging a great late recovery to become the world middleweight champion. At last, Roberto Duran has a chance to erase the New Orleans nightmare. It's a happening, really. The stars from nearby Los Angeles all want to be part of the scene. In boxing terms, Leonard and Duran are both veterans, but they're gladiators, determined to put on one glorious last show. No one who's interested in the fight game wants to miss it. Well, they really know how to put on a sporting spectacle here. The arena is in the car park behind the Mirage. The capacity is 16,000. It's going to be pretty chilly as well. Temperature in the desert at this time of year, not much over 40 degrees. I'm sure they were in for a great spectacle. Pull up your chair then and join your ringside commentators, Jim Watt and Reg Guttridge.
So there he is now, exposed to the crowd. And the gate money, $9 million taken at the gate, which is an all-time record. And there he is, 38 years young, no doubt about it, and the supporters there are fanatical. This man really has, well, the old word charisma is not even enough to explain the attraction that generates among fight fans. And there's the rundown of the record. One of those losses to the British champion, Kurt Lang. So there it is, now exposed again to the crowd, Leonard, who's the betting favourite. Five different weight classes, that really is tremendous, isn't it? Welterweight to light heavy. Changed his corner crew quite a bit since he started, although Pepe Correa actually trained him when he was 14 years old. And that, the way he's dressed, obviously gives you an indication that it's a chilly night in Las Vegas. And the one loss, of course, on that record was to Roberto Duran in Montreal at the start of the decade, one of the great fights, in my opinion, of the decade.
Señoras y señores, con el barrio Torino en el Ciudad de Panamá, el hombre con los manos de piedra, Roberto Duran. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the WBC Super Middleweight Champion of the World, Sugar Ray Leonard.
There he is, almost in the film they have a central casting to play the villain, isn't he, Duran? But he's got the crowd, the majority of the crowd on his side anyway here. So here we go then, third time up. And if it could get anywhere near their first meeting, it'll be a great fight. So they wheel out the golden oldies, and this is a good town for that. And it's speculated a great deal of gambling in this town, and $9 million at the gate, which is an all-time record, $800 at ringside. Now that Duran won the first contest on points, that was 15 rounds at that time, but it was a close one. And then that inexplicable retirement, quit the no mass, as they called it in New Orleans, in the return. He says he's going to explain after this contest what really happened to that. Both a bit wary, Jim, aren't they, at this stage? I suppose you can't blame them.
Yeah, well, they both know each other only too well. Now, obviously, we know exactly what Duran's going to do. He's going to try to put Leonard under as much pressure as possible. What we don't know is what's in Leonard's head. What kind of strategy does he intend using tonight? Is he going to stand and trade as he did the first time? Or is he going to use his legs and try to frustrate Duran? Personally, I think the latter, at least in the first few rounds anyway. He's catching Duran with a jab already. He seems a little bit sharper than Duran in the early stages of the first round here.
The amazing thing, Jim, is that Ray Leonard's been down in 3 of his last 4 contests, actually taking counts. But he always gets up, that's the main thing. Yes, it looks as though it's going to be a long-range job by Leonard, but will Duran stand for that?
Well, Duran is not really mounting the pressure in the first round here. He's stalking Leonard, but he's not really putting him under any pressure. He's standing off. It's as though he hasn't really started yet. He's been nailed there once or twice with some sharp little counters from Leonard.
Almost as if Duran's saying, "Do you mind standing still while I hit you?" He started off slowly when he fought the last fight against Aaron Barkley. I know you can't compare styles with Barkley and Leonard, but he took a long time to get going with him and had a great fight to win that one. He might take him the time to warm up here. It really is a bit nippy. There it is, you see, wrapping him up between rounds. They want to keep him warm, that's what it's all about. Second round. And he not too many punches in the opening round, but those that landed gave it to Leonard. Three judges, Las Vegas, New Jersey and Belgium. Should it go to 12 rounds? He looks a lot more mobile, Leonard, Jim, than he did against Tommy Hearns when he really struggled to get a draw.
Yeah, I'm giving Leonard the benefit of the doubt. We have to remember it was 95 degrees at ringside all the way through his fight with Hearns. I thought he boxed very poorly. I thought he lost that fight, and I thought he really had nothing left. But already he looks a little bit stronger and sharper, and it's far colder tonight than it was obviously in June. But Leonard started this fight very well indeed. He's not really been under any pressure. He's been landing nice little sharp counters. And I think he'd be quite happy to see the first 3 or 4 rounds follow this pattern. It's up to Duran not to let that happen. He must really get some fire into his performance.
Duran, he's got this obsessive commitment when he fights, and he really, although he's an attacking fighter, he really doesn't get hit that much. That's why it's lasted so long. It's far more skill than generally credited, although of course a different style entirely to the Sugar Man. Good thing for Leonard, Jim, isn't he? He sort of ad-libs his strategy as he goes along.
Yeah, that's the thing about Leonard. He can do so many different things. From one round to the next, he can be like a totally different fighter. But you can see he's really brimming with confidence here. He feels he's in control already. He's catching Duran with plenty of punches. Now he's starting to showboat. I think he actually wants Duran to raise the pace so he'll make some more mistakes. He feels so confident here. But Duran a little bit low-key. He really has to, he's going to have to move into higher gear.
Yeah, it's a repeat of the second fight in New Orleans when he started to show off a bit, but I don't think he's going to frustrate Duran as he did in that fight. I mean, it would be unbelievable if he did. Wrap the man up. Treat him almost like the Shirley Temple of boxing, don't they? But he's much meaner and sharper than that when he's in this ring. Well, that's what they reckon the punches have been thrown there. It's a question of the scoring punches as far as I'm concerned.
Every time you get a chance, deal in the body, but you want to go to the body with both hands.
So they were then zooming in for the third round. Remember, 12 rounds championship. And so far a really skillful performance, sort of artful butchery almost by Sugar Ray Leonard. But can Duran now sort of creep closer to him as the fight goes along and try and make him swap punches close in?
See, it's possible Duran doesn't feel he's going to catch Leonard with any worthwhile punches in the first quarter of the fight. So maybe he doesn't intend using up a lot of useless energy, just wasting energy. But he looks now as though he's revving up a little bit. Yeah, this is more like Duran, a little bit more pressure. Leonard looks that little bit sharper every move. He just seems that little bit sharper than Duran. Duran's getting caught as they break out of a clinch. He just can't seem to match him for sharpness.
The first fight, of course, Leonard fought Duran's type of fight. He stood and tried to slug it out with him. I actually admired him for that, but it didn't work. And I'm wondering now whether Duran can draw him into a fight. I doubt it. After two fights, you know, almost as though the moves have been choreographed for them, really. They know so much about each other. I'm a bit surprised that Duran is standing off. I know you made a point that he might be saving it for another part of the fight, but I think he needs to get in and hustle a bit more.
Yeah, well, Duran doesn't really have the power to trouble a good middleweight. I mean, he's been a great fighter and a great puncher all the way through, but he hasn't really knocked out any top-class middleweights that are super middles as well tonight. So I don't think he can afford to allow Leonard to build up a points lead. See, Leonard again, that little bit sharper, always has the last word in every exchange.
And good solid punches too. Oh yes, we've got the walk away and the dropped hands. It's going to be a show-off job by Ray Leonard. Can Duran get at it to really get close in now at the second half of the fight, because he's certainly got a lot to make up.
See, Leonard's moving so well that in order to get close, Duran's coming in and crossing his feet over, ending up square-footed. So even when he gets into close quarters, the force is out of his punch. Leonard really is in control here.
Spell there, I mean, both of them about as aggressive as a coconut shy there. And the more solid punches are coming from Leonard too, aren't they, Jim? They're not all just pecking punches like that. Some of them are quite hard.
Yeah, but there's some good solid jabs, and as I say, he always has the last word in an exchange, but Duran hasn't really landed a worthwhile punch. At the beginning of this round, he knocked Leonard off balance with a left hook, but it just really, he lost his footing slightly, but Duran just can't get himself into the fight. Leonard always that little bit sharper than he is. And if Leonard starts pushing Duran back now, then we could maybe even see an early finish.
Yeah, there's one or two good shots there in Duran's corner. They were very accurate by Leonard. And now it's really got a toe-to-toe slug now. Leonard sensing he's got Duran on the hook and he's going to make him pay for it.
Now, if Leonard manages to start pushing Duran back, then Duran has absolutely no chance. So these are good punches from Leonard here. This really is his round. Look at this.
Really is the showboating stuff as well. I mean, he's giving him a quiet going over, as they say, Duran, and he's got a good chance of stopping him here in the 6th round, and that seems almost unbelievable, this tank man of the pro ring, and he doesn't even want the referee to touch him there. He's so angry, Duran, because he hasn't taken a beating like that in a long, long time.
He's holding and hitting. You haven't said anything.
And they're complaining, as you heard there in Duran's corner, that Leonard's holding and hitting. Well, that's not too many punches, is it? Only 11 landed, according to that stats, anyway. Jim, there is again. I mean, it really was a set 2 here, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, this is vintage Leonard now. This is him turning the clock right back. The work in that round was perfect. He just did everything he liked. Ended up, here's the showboating with the swinging the right hand round, still landing the punch. Some great work from Leonard in that round.
Out for round 7 now, and is Leonard going to go for the payoff? Certainly in terms of earnings, they could pay the national debt of Panama, the money that they're giving Duran here, although it's Leonard is getting twice the money. That bit of patience, Leonard. He hasn't come out and thrown punches like a madman there. He'll wait until he just gets the right ones through, and then he'll throw those cluster of blows. It might have angered Duran, Jim, but I don't think it'll do Duran much good. If he tries to lose his temper at all with Leonard, he really will take some stick.
Oh, I feel that's what's been missing in Duran's work tonight. The fire, right from the first. You expected, you see the way he talks before the fight and the way he usually burns during a battle, but he's never really got his attitude right in this fight. He's been one-paced. What he's been doing has never worked, but he's just doing the same thing, toying with the left hand, trying to get into range to land the right hand, but he's done the same thing all the way through, and he hasn't won a round in my camp.
Want to burn himself out, Leonard, after having a very good 6th round like that. He's still managing to bide his time in the 7th. Comes, of course, with a great experience right from his Olympic days as a light welterweight on the stone. There it is. That's when he throws a salvo like that, Leonard, he makes it really count there. He looks so much better in this contest than he did with Tommy Hearns.
Well, it's unfortunate, Red, but there's no sign of greatness from Duran tonight. He really has looked an ordinary fighter, and it's Leonard who's making him look that way.
10th round. And almost the perfect exhibition boxing from Sugar Ray Leonard. And nobody really could ever suspected that Duran would be the fall guy, the last fellow in the world he would have picked. First time he's thrown those sort of, well, they're more than hooks, Jim, aren't they? Almost swings, Leonard. That's
yeah, kind of wide swings. His corner were telling him to throw the right hand to the body, and then when he was down there, come back with a hook. I don't know if he's trying to set Duran up for that. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Leonard really tries to go to work in these remaining rounds. He'd love to stop Duran. I mean, that really would be a good performance, ignoring the retirement in the previous one. That was all of 9 years ago anyway. Well, I think the only pleasure Duran's getting tonight is when he takes Leonard's full power on the chin. He just smiles back at him, but he's not been able to retaliate with punches. So all he can do is smile to show that he's not been hurt. just to be a case, as we said earlier, Reggie, too many times going up to 15 stone and then dragging back down again for Duran. The body is just not functioning tonight as it used to do.
That's the incredible thing. He wins at long range, Leonard, and when he gets inside with fast punches, they're much more solid than Duran's anyway. He's winning both way, outside and in close. I said early on that he doesn't get hit that often, Duran, but certainly tonight he does. The age has caught up with him and they're fighting, well, after the bell, but not for long. Well, I don't know what the seconds could possibly tell him at this stage of the fight, gentlemen. He's a distance behind.
Now, there's not even any urgency in Duran's corner. I think they really realise too that he just doesn't have it tonight. There's nothing they can do. I think it's just a case of hoping he'll get through the full 12 rounds. But there's no urgency, there's no panic. They know their man has never been in the fight and not really likely to get into the fight.
Don't lay inside, not at all. You can move for 6 minutes. All right. Now, quarter.
Most of the smart odds players around here thought this contest would go the full 12 rounds, and we're out for the 11th.
Well, you would expect now Duran must just throw caution to the wind and just start winging punches. If he hopes to, obviously the only way he can win this fight is to get Leonard out of there. I wonder if he's prepared for a do or die effort.
Get out of it. Work. Don't hold it. Bring him on back. Pull him back.
A big stage like this, Jim, this is complete as you'll get with a points victory really for Leonard. On the other hand, I still think you might want to have a go in this and the last round. He won't take chances, he's much too smart for that, but if he does nail Duran and throw those clusters again and try and stop him.
You see, Duran hasn't even thrown good punches in this fight. I mean, if he was throwing good punches which were catching Leonard on the arms or on the shoulders or on the top of the head, at least you would think he had something to offer. But the punches have been throwing, they've lacked the snap, the power, and obviously the timing. He's just really had nothing to offer. He really, unfortunately, looks his age. It's as bad as I've seen Roberto Duran.
The old gentleman inside there in the glasses is Muhammad Ali, in case you haven't spotted him. It's been a relatively easy fight for Richard Steele to handle anyway.
Let him up. Lord, come on.
As far as Duran's concerned in golfing terms, Jim, it's been the seniors tour for him, isn't it?
Leonard's cut in the left eye, I think, Reg. I see some blood there.
I was just wondering whether it was coming from his lip, but I don't think so. There was a clash there. Yeah, it's on the corner of the left eye. Well, with a round to go, it would have to be pretty bad to be stopped. Roberto Duran. It's bleeding fairly heavily too. It's unusual to see Leonard cut. Oh, it's quite a nasty gash, a sort of scimitar shape.
There's a nasty cut just below the eyebrow. But I really don't see any way the referee would dream of stopping this fight. He's 11 rounds in front, I would say, getting into the last now. And the heads went close together just before we actually saw the blood, so I think it's more liable to have been a clash of heads that's caused the cut.
Let's have a look now and see if this is a point where it clashed. It may well be. No, it might have been the right hand shot that did it. Although we can't see any blood there, so it's a bit hard to say really. Well, no doctor was scored at all there between rounds as we come out for the 12th and final round. And that's adrenaline cream by the look of it, squeezed onto Leonard's injury. And it's desperation stakes for Duran here. And it's obvious that he'll hit and hop it now, Leonard. He's not going to take any chances at all, and why should he? Can't stop the flow though, Jim, though it's just as well that it didn't happen early on in the contest.
Yeah, that really would have been a tragedy if this had happened after about 7 or 8 rounds, because he's really been so much in control all the way through. Even now, Duran, with a whisper of a chance now to try and worsen the injury, even now he can't kindle a fire and really start letting the punches flow. Even now he's just stalking. Okay, here comes a couple of punches now, but very disappointing from Duran.
The point, Duran tracks him all the time, but he does nothing when you would think he was in punching range. As you see there.
It is a bad injury, Reg. Although it's not a long cut, it must be a deep one because of the flow of blood. The corner would have managed to stem the bleeding if it hadn't been so deep. So it really is a bad cut. Really good luck for Leonard that it happened so late in the contest.
Dripping into his eye there, and he was wiping it away, Leonard. And inside the last minute, and he's still got the nerve to do a bit of show off right at the last knock-ins here, Leonard. And as you say, Jim, badly cut like that. Well, it's no use Duran snarling the way he is, Jim. He just hasn't done enough to be even in the frame.
No, he really hasn't done anything there. He's never mind not enough. Although most of that is because Leonard did not allow him to get into the fight. A wonderful performance from Sugar Ray Leonard.
Well, I don't know why Duran's raising his hand. He must be kidding. And the Panamanian seconds are lifting him up, and they're doing the same for Leonard. He's got to be kidding. So we await the scores now. Judges, as I said, from Las Vegas, New Jersey and Belgium.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's the official scoring. Jerry Roth scores the bout 119 to 109. Joe Cortez scores it 116 to 111. And Bob Logis scores the bout 120 to 110 for the winner by unanimous decision. And still, WBC Super Middleweight Champion of the World, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Well, there it is. That's the formality. A really runaway victory there for Leonard. 120 maximum by the Belgian judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, a hand, if you will, for one of the great legends of the sport of boxing, Roberto Duran.
And over to colleague Tim Ryan talking to Sugar Ray.
This is one of your most masterful performances.
I would think so, Tim. I think a lot of this is based on the fact Duran was 38 years old. But Duran's a veteran, and he came to fight.
Well, it appeared to us that you frustrated him early, not so much in the same way as in New Orleans, but that you showed him that there was no way he could effectively match up against you.
Well, this time I didn't really listen to the crowd, you know. I think the fact that we're being cut for the first time a lip, I had moved, and then it was a headbutt to the eye, and then it was another shot that was imperative that I move.
Well, you moved well through the whole match. Tell us about the difference in your training, because clearly anybody who worried about the legs not being there after the Hearns fight were certainly persuaded that they still are.
The legs are good, Tim, and in fact, that's what saved me a lot of times. It got me in, got me out, and it confused the ring.
Did you stick exactly to the game plan you wanted?
Game plan was actually the same thing.
What about Duran? Were you surprised that there was kind of a lack of fire, or did the fact that you dominated the way you did simply take it away from him?
Well, I knew he was going to be tough, but speed was the key, Tim.
The referee didn't let me do nothing. Every time we go into a clinch, you know, he would push me away. He just did not let me fight.
Would you believe it? Here at the post-fight press conference, Roberto Duran's been claiming he thought he actually won the fight. It's clear the damage to Sugar Ray Leonard's eyes isn't too serious, but really, this was a big anti-climax. Leonard so skillful and so superior. Roberto Duran beneath the slimmed-down frame. The fires had obviously gone out. Leonard began the decade as a world champion. He ends on top of the world as well. And if he wants to, he's got a fair bit to offer to the sport in the 90s. From us all in Las Vegas, good night.